Welcome back, everybody, to our fourth and final session. So today we're going to look at stress and the connection that nutrition has around stress in the body and things like that. I really just want to thank Jade before we get started today on your magic, your fountain of knowledge over the past 4 weeks. It's been amazing, and I know that we've had so many questions, so many comments and emails, and there's been a huge interest. So Jade and I were talking, and we are planning on doing an advanced 4-week nutrition series. So anyone that has been, sitting in these sessions, or anyone that's watched the recordings, will be able then to go on and attend the advanced nutrition program, which will be probably 4 weeks as well. Just on that, could you please fill out the questionnaires? There's 2 short surveys that I'll send out after this, just to let us know that you want to go on to do the second program, because it will be really good for us just in terms of funding and things like that. If you could just, tick the yes box that you would appreciate a second course, that would be brilliant. Same story as per usual. If you have any questions or concerns, just put them into the chat box or the comment box throughout, and then I can just have that wee discussion with Jade as we normally do. So Jade, what do you have in store for us today?
Oh, I've got lots of tricks in the goodie bag today, but yeah, so basically today we're doing a bit of a roundup, and we're going to talk about, lifestyle, stress, sleep, environment, and a few other wee bits and pieces about food and eating as well too. So it's a nice roundup to the past, to the 4 weeks that we're doing. So I'm happy enough to get cracking, and it's just the same as the past 3 weeks. I'll do natural wee break points in between and just check with you, Shannon, if there are any questions or anything. I will ask how everybody got on with the task from last week, if you did try and incorporate any, healthy snacks, and if you did do the, keeping an eye on how many different colours of the rainbow you were eating. So if you can write in your kind of feedback on that in the comments, and Shannon can let me know how you got on. But I'll just get going. So, we've focused a lot on the importance of a holistic approach to health throughout the programme. So this filters through to our lifestyle habits, and we're going to explore these more throughout the session, like I said, with, as always, some handy everyday tips and tricks to support your, healthy lifestyle habits and healthy eating habits as well. So today we're going to delve a bit more into stress, how it can affect the body physically and mentally. We'll also talk about lifestyle changes that we can incorporate to help us to reduce our stress levels. So obviously there will be a few stories in the mix. You'll know me by now anyway, and I do love a bit of a story. So we're going to follow up with everyday tips and tricks to equip you with, better, to equip you with the tools to make better food choices, and obviously the last task of the Kickstart program. So managing stress. So, I might just check in with Shannon and see if anybody's fed back about if they did the task or anything, just before I get going.
We've just had such a really wonderful comment, and a lady removed all processed foods from her diet and lost 7 pounds in a week. So
no way. See, that just shows you, doesn't it? Like, without counting calories and stuff like that, you can still lose weight, and I've seen it so many times with clients as well. Brilliant, very good.
Yeah, you've questions, but you've
right, okay, so I will get going with a bit of info first, and then we can touch on with some questions. Happy days. Thank you, and amazing results for that lady. Well done. So I'll crack on. So basically we all experience stress in our lives to some extent. There's no getting away from that, and some stress is healthy, whereas excess stress has a negative impact on our physical and mental health. So some stressors are hardwired into our being. For example, our stress response to things like spiders or snakes, for example. Other stressors can be learned from our environment. So basically the modern world that we live in exposes us to lots of stressors, things like less rest. We're constantly trying to get the most out of our precious time, more noise, you know, more information. We're constantly connected to our phones, our laptops, TVs without switching off. That we've got more toxins, which we've already touched on in the past weeks. And, you know, especially now at the minute, we've got reduced sport networks. I know that's changing in a positive way, which is amazing to see. But, you know, over the past year, we've had less human connection and interaction than what we have done probably our whole lives. So some issues that we face are, a lot of us are stressed out, and we may not even realize that we are stressed out or know what is causing us to be stressed. So on another note, a lot of us don't actually want to admit that we are stressed. So whether we admit that we're stressed or not, our bodies will speak the truth with symptoms of physical or mental ill health. So some typical symptoms of stress, suppressing stress, can include things like sleep conditions like insomnia, narcolepsy, and general sleep disturbances, mood disorders like anxiety, depression, OCD, and an array of other mental health conditions, headaches, migraines, digestive issues like reflux, IBS, ulcers, upset stomach, loads of other digestive symptoms and conditions, loss of appetite or food cravings, low energy, fatigue, or inability to relax, memory and concentration issues, including things like brain fog. So this list is really exhaustive, and these are simply just a few examples to give you a general idea of how stress can physically manifest in the body. So maybe you've heard of fight or flight and rest and digest before, or maybe you haven't, but I'm just going to explain it a bit more now anyway for your general understanding. So basically, when we are in a state of stress, our bodies are operating from our fight or flight mode. So fight or flight is known as our sympathetic nervous system response. So don't be fooled by the word sympathetic there with the nervous system response. It doesn't mean that it's a good thing. This results in decreased muscular activity in the digestive system as the body is focused on redirecting blood flow and oxygen to other parts of the body, like the heart, for example, to allow us to pump blood around the body to allow us to be able to flee from that perceived danger that we have recognized. So that's fine if you're a caveman or a cave woman trying to flee from a saber-toothed tiger, or you are in a dangerous situation where you're getting mugged or something like that. But we don't want to be operating from fight or flight when we're at home, when we're doing our emails, when we're at work, when we're, you know, sitting relaxing watching the TV. We don't want that to happen when we're trying to go through our normal day-to-day life. So the exact opposite of our fight or flight response is our rest and digest response, which is known as our parasympathetic nervous system response. So rest and digest encourages peristalsis in the digestive tract, which is increased muscular activity that moves food throughout our gut and our digestive system. So it also encourages the secretion of digestive juices, which is something that we really do want to support the optimum digestion of food in the digestive tract. So within this response as well too, we're also able to absorb more nutrients from the food, so we can benefit from all the goodness that we're putting into our bodies, and the rest of our organ systems can also benefit from that as well. So this is just a short description of how these systems work. So I think you can kind of see how somebody who's chronically stressed over a long period of time can actually end up with chronic digestive issues as a result of that, because of that close link between our body stress responses and our digestive system. So if we're constantly stressed, we're not really going to operate from rest and digest very often. So we're not going to get that, nurturing, positive process happening whenever we're consuming the foods that we're eating. So these are just some considerations to take as drivers that can feed into stress in the body. So stress can be driven by inflammation. So, you know, we've talked about inflammation before. Inflammation is basically something that we want to keep to a minimum in the body. You know, a lot of the things that drive inflammation in the body can also contribute to physical and mental stress in the body. So we've already discussed some of these things in a lot of detail. So, you know, an ultra-processed diet high in refined carbs, refined sugar, processed foods, chemicals, toxins, additives, they all contribute to inflammation and have a negative impact on our health, our gut bacterial balance, etc., etc. You know a lot about that if you've sat in on the last sessions. Another driver of inflammation can include things like medications. Now, I'm not saying don't take medications. Absolutely, we do have to take medications, and we go by our doctor's advice with that. But we're talking about medications that are used excessively. They're used out of context, and you know, we don't really use them in the right way. So things like some prescription and non-prescription medications, things like antibiotics, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they can have a negative effect on our digestive system. So like I said, I'm not encouraging you not to take medications or to change any of the medications that you're on without consulting your doctor, but we don't want to misuse them. We don't want to consume them in excess. They can have a detrimental effect, like I said. So you might have noticed, like before, like pre-COVID, the NHS had a lot of billboards about, you know, only taking antibiotics when you actually need them. And the reason for this is because antibiotics are really good at doing what they do. They do wipe out all the bad bacterial imbalances, but they also take away the good. So, you know, that's why it's important that we only take antibiotics when we've got a bacterial infection, and also that we can do things like, you know, increasing probiotic foods to support our gut bacterial health whenever we are taking antibiotics, or we can look at things like taking a probiotic to support our gut health whenever we are taking antibiotics. Things like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are a great first line of support to reduce inflammation, you know, to reduce pain, but they're not actually getting to the root cause of what is causing that issue. So I urge, you know, people to, you know, instead of just taking painkillers and stuff to mask symptoms, you know, try and find out what the root cause of what is causing that pain, if there's anything else that can be done alongside that pain relief medication. But non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can have a detrimental effect on our digestive system as well too. They're very sore in the gut. So it's just a gentle reminder to take medications responsibly and mindfully. Gut bacteria. So our guts are made up of mostly bacteria, and that's exactly how we want them to be. We actually have more bacterial cells in the body than actual human cells, and that's good as long as the balance stays right. So we want the good bacterial cells to outweigh the bad. So we want to avoid things like, you know, overgrowth of parasites, yeast, fungal infection, overgrowth, which they all steal essential nutrients that we require in the body, and they just wreak havoc generally with our health. So when the good bacteria is in abundance, it'll help us absorb and retain nutrients more efficiently and contribute to good overall health. So gut bacterial balance is something that we can delve into a lot more probably in the advanced sessions. We will talk a lot more about gut health, gut-brain connection, and things like that. So stress, which we are delving into more today, you know, chronic stress isn't good for our physical or mental health. Chronic stress suppresses the immune system, you know, which can contribute to overgrowths of these parasites, yeast, bacterial, and fungal overgrowths. Now, we know now more than ever we want to support our immune system as best we can. So, you know, managing stress is, you know, not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination, but it's all about doing the things that are within our control. So, you know, also keeping in mind that whenever we are stressed, what do we normally do? We normally reach for poor dietary choices. We'll go for the sugary foods, the fast foods, you know, things that give us that quick, fast burst of energy, which is literally just, you know, it's just a vicious cycle, and it's something that we want to get out of. So it also can contribute then to, you know, weight gain, which can contribute to low self-esteem and mood, and all of those things that we want to avoid. So, quick little story. So this is one of my previous clients, calling her Sally. It's not actually her name. So Sally came to me. She was in her 20s, and she did have a chronic sleep condition called narcolepsy. You might have heard of it before. So Sally was on medications provided by the doctor that helped to reduce her episodes of drowsiness, but she was still experiencing extreme fatigue and low energy levels. So this was affecting her ability to concentrate and work and to perform generally to the best of her ability. It resulted in her feeling very anxious and stressed. So she was having extreme brain fog, where she was having difficulty remembering simple everyday information. She was a real health conscious lady. You know, she was trying her best to eat as well as she could. Her main downfall was sugary treats and snacks. So this made sense because the sugar would give her a quick, fast burst of energy. However, we all know that whenever we have the wrong types of sugar, it'll lead to a faster energy crash in the long term. So basically, the sudden energy boost wouldn't last long for Sally, and she would feel awful after she had these foods. So her main issues was that when she was reaching for foods like her sweets and chocolate and processed foods, they were triggering sleep episodes for her. She also experienced a lot of breakouts on her face. This was something that she really did want to address because it was making her, it was affecting her self-esteem. And she did have a history of asthma and dust allergy. She wasn't consuming much caffeine, but she wasn't drinking enough water. And that's all I'm going to tell you about Sally for now. And I will give you an update on Sally at the end of the session. So I'm just going to touch on my Shannon now before I get on to the next part and see if we've got any questions to answer so far.
Yeah, so just when you were talking about anti-inflammatory medication that some people might take, can you recommend any anti-inflammatory foods that would be more beneficial?
Yeah, like garlic, ginger, turmeric, citrus fruits, like things like cantaloupe, melon. They're all are known to have anti-inflammatory properties. So you can definitely, that's a brilliant question, like including an anti-inflammatory approach with your diet is really good. And also anti-inflammatories, just all the things that we've talked about already, making sure you're hydrated, managing your caffeine, reducing your refined sugar intake, increasing more of your veggies, cutting out that ultra processed foods. All of those things will contribute to reducing inflammation in the body. So really good question.
Thank you, Jade. So, Adleri, I had a gallbladder removed 2 years ago and I have problems with reflux on and off. Are there any foods that they should avoid?
So it's just important for you to support your digestive system and your body's detoxification system because they're both so closely linked, and your gallbladder is obviously part of your body's detoxification system as well. So it's important to make sure you're staying hydrated, managing your intake of toxins, your processed foods, and in general, I don't have a specific food to tell you to, include, but just cutting out the processed foods, managing your fruit, your veg, and getting as much goodness in as you can. I will follow up. I'll check and see if there's anything particularly for gallbladder issues. And if you just remind me, Shannon, and then I can follow up and give a wee bit of extra advice for that lady.
Brilliant, thank you, Jade. Is there any foods that are good for low stomach acid?
Yes, definitely. So I don't know if we talked about this already. So, stomach acid is something that's so vital for our for supporting our digestive system, and a lot of us do have low stomach acid, even in conditions like when individuals are taking things like omeprazole and stuff like that, and they've got reflux, they can actually have low stomach acid, where you would think that you've got high stomach acid if you've got something like reflux. But yeah, so things that can support production of stomach acid, green leafy veggies, so like our rocket bitters, so not just green leafy veg, but rocket, like artichoke, things like that. If you eat them before you have a meal, or even things like tinctures of them, can help to support production of stomach acid. Or apple cider vinegar is also a natural support for production of stomach acid, which that's why we want to take these things just before we eat, because we want to increase the production of stomach acid just before we eat, rather than on an empty stomach, because we don't need excess stomach acid when we're not eating. So the point is to do it just before your meals. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And one last question here. I take alkalizing salts in sachets with water for bowel issues every morning. Does this count towards my water intake, as I have 3 glasses?
Yeah, it should do. I would need to just see what the ingredients are, if you tell me what the alkalizing salts are. But yeah, like that's essentially going to be an electrolyte support, and that alkalizing salt. And it's like we talked about in the first week, hydration, and how we can add those electrolytes into our water, through the citrus fruits, through the ginger and things like that. So off the top of my head, without seeing the ingredients and without knowing what the product is, I'm just assuming that it's going to generally be probably a mix of like magnesium, potassium, sodium, or something like that, and the alkalis and salt. So it would be contributing to your water intake. Yeah.
Brilliant, Jade. Thank you very much for that.
No bother at all. Right, we'll batter on here. So, sleep, this is something that is so important for supporting management of stress. You know, I think we all know how important it is to get good quality sleep, but how many of us actually do get good quality sleep is the question. So when I say sleep, I am meaning being able to fall asleep easily, not waking up throughout the night, and waking up feeling refreshed in the morning. So we want to support sleep because it's so important for loads of different bodily processes. You know, it helps us to maintain energy levels, supports metabolism, supports weight management, supports hormone balance. It's so important for all these major processes in the body. So our circadian rhythm regulates our natural sleep-wake cycles dependent on hormones produced as a result of responses to light and dark. So simplistically, our sleep hormone melatonin is secreted when it starts to get dark, and our wake hormone cortisol is secreted in the brighter waking hours. So this is why our circadian rhythm is affected by how much time we spend in natural light and by our exposure to artificial light. So considering back in the day, 75% of the population worked outdoors, and now only 10% of the population work in natural daylight. You know, most of us are in the Northern Hemisphere, we're stuck at a desk or working inside without access to any natural daylight, especially now that most of us are at home. We're not getting outside as much. And then you add to the mix the use of phones, TVs, laptops, smart devices, along with all the artificial lighting that we have. It's really as a recipe for a very muddled up circadian rhythm. So also considering the poor weather and low temperatures can have a detrimental effect on circadian rhythm. So that's us, you know, us lovely people on the Irish eye, just you know, we've got the odds stacked against us here. We're not having the best of luck whenever it comes to supporting that, whenever it comes to weather and low temperatures. So here are some tips that you can, you know, incorporate to help support a more balanced circadian rhythm. So, you know, sleep hygiene, unfortunately, is not just as easy as making sure you're nice and clean before you go to bed. So if only it was that easy. Although a top sleep consultant who is called Tom Coleman actually recommends having a warm shower before bed, because he says that it activates a rebound cooling response in the body, which triggers an increase in our sleep hormone production, melatonin, which can feed into help you have a better sleep. So there's a little tip. So sleep hygiene can be supported by building in some new behaviours around your sleep routine. So whenever I work with private clients, they're all given a prescription of sleep hygiene whenever we start working together, and it is so important. It's one of the key cornerstones of health and well-being. So first up, what we want to do is limit our screen time before bed. So our bodies won't start to produce melatonin until we remove or reduce the sources of artificial light to allow us to wind down, you know, before bed. So electronic devices, phones, TVs, laptops, at least 1 hour before bed, you want to be switching off from those devices. The longer before bed that you've got no artificial light and screens, the better. Now, I'm not saying you have to walk about the house in the dark, because obviously that's not going to be very fun, but just have like a little lamp on rather than just having your, you know, your harsh big lights on. Blue light blocking glasses can also really help with this as well too. So there's something that you could look into. So temperature is also a really important factor with sleep, as well as light does. So when we get too warm, it disrupts our sleep cycles. So although we love our hot water bottles and our electric blankets in bed, it's best not to sleep with these throughout the night. So it's even recommended to turn off heaters in the bedroom. You know, ideally our bedroom should not be too warm, and best temperature is suggested to be around 18 degrees Celsius. Things like as well too, whenever it comes to light, you know, you can consider a blackout blind on your windows, or, you know, just heavy curtains. And then also things like an eye mask and earplugs really help to support good sleep hygiene. So caffeine, I've already talked about in depth. You know, we know that caffeine is a stimulant that affects the sympathetic nervous system fight or flight mode. So it's something that we want to avoid, you know, outside the sympathetic nervous system response is something we want to avoid, you know, whenever we're going through our day-to-day life. So like I suggested before, caffeinated drinks, earlier part of the day, cut down your consumption and just balance them out well. So sleep routine, having a set routine for sleep each day and night is really important to get under that circadian rhythm. Our body's really habitual and it loves to be in a rhythm. So this is something that, you know, you could just have a set time that you go to your bed at night, a set time that you wake up in the morning. Your body will feel, you know, the benefits of getting into that routine. And if anybody does do shift work, then, you know, just try to have set times around your shifts that you go to bed and you wake up. And, you know, if you're coming off things like night shifts, you could do a short sleep when you finish. And then go to your bed earlier that night. And then you could also have a short sleep before you have your first night shift. So I'm not sure if anybody does do night shift, but also avoiding sedatives is really strongly recommended. You know, regular use of sleeping pills and other sedatives to aid sleep is not recommended because these can lead to dependency and addiction. So this also includes the use of alcohol to help you fall asleep. Although alcohol can promote the onset of sleep, it's also associated with early awakenings, disrupted sleep, and poor quality sleep. So if you do want to enjoy a glass of wine or beer, it's recommended to have at least a 2-hour gap between your last drink and bedtime. So vitamin D, I'm going to talk a bit about vitamin D. So it's really, really important to support our overall physical health and mental health. In particular, vitamin D3, which is cholecalciferol. It's the most bioavailable and highly absorbable form in the body. So we require vitamin D for loads of processes like supporting bone health, helps to reduce inflammation in the body, and also really important for regulating our immune system. So you might have heard, you know, I know that the numbers, the sales of vitamin D and the rate of people taking vitamin D has gone up a lot since the pandemic. And that is due to the immune supportive properties of this vitamin. So it's also a building block for neurotransmitters, those little happy chemical messengers in the body, things like serotonin. So important for feeding into our feelings of well-being. The best way to get vitamin D exposure is through sun exposure. So let's be honest, we're not that blessed. It's getting a bit better at this time of the year. You know, we have had a few nice sunny days, you know, but we do have to take into consideration the strength of the sun rays at different times of the year and different parts of the world. So in the autumn and winter seasons, you know, I do strongly recommend that people supplement with vitamin D, especially in this part of the world. We can get vitamin D through foods, but the amounts are quite menial. Things like oily fish, liver, eggs, and butter. It's mostly animal-based products. So there are small amounts in mushrooms, but not too much. But like I said, we don't get much of a therapeutic effect through food. It's mostly through sun exposure. And then outside of the times when we don't have any sun exposure, then we would look at supplementing. So everybody needs to be aware with supplementing as well, that you should check with any other medications you're on for contraindications, because although you can buy supplements over the shelf, they do still have a powerful effect in the body, and they can affect you know, any other medications that you are taking. But if you are supplementing with vitamin D, the recommended daily allowance is 1,000 IUs a day. And you can speak to your GP and get a vitamin D test to identify your base level, which means then you could get an individual, you know, dosage recommendation for what you actually need. There are vitamin D tests that you can get online as well too, quite cheaply, if your GP won't do the test for you. So magnesium is an amazing mineral to help support energy production in the body. It's actually essential for energy production in the body. All of the cells in the body require magnesium for the production of ATP, which is the body's energy currency. So we also require magnesium for muscle contraction and relaxation, and it's so important for supporting our nervous system function. So it helps to support balanced moods, sleep, blood pressure, lung function, immune function. You know, magnesium is such an important element and nutrient, and if we are eating a heavily processed diet, then we are going to miss out in getting a lot of magnesium through our diet. So it's generally low, and you know, and these kind of processed diets. We also require magnesium for the conversion of vitamin D. So those two work synergistically together, and important that we get both of them in our diet. So food sources of magnesium are a lot easier. Green leafy veggies, nuts, seeds, whole grains, lentils, and beans. So another way you can get more magnesium in and do your shit into the body is including Epsom salts. So Epsom salts are basically magnesium salts. So what you can do is you can have a bath with magnesium salts, like 2 cups. You can add about essential oils, soak for 20 minutes in a medium temperature water. If you don't have a bath, or you don't really care to have a bath, you can get the same therapeutic effect from soaking your feet in an Epsom salt foot bath. So you just use half the amount of salt, but you can still add your essential oils. Same drill, 20 minutes, medium temperature water, and you're good to go. That will absorb into the bloodstream and can give you the same positive effects as having a bath. So that's always a nice tip. Shannon, I'm going to check in and see how we're getting on for questions and stuff.
Yes, so we have a wee question here. I suffer skin breakouts, particularly around the nose area and under the eyes. And the lady read somewhere that it was in relation to the large intestine not being able to digest certain foods. Are there any foods that are harder to digest that could cause this?
Yeah, well, the things that are coming, it is different for each person, and it's hard to say specifically, but things like red meat can be harder to digest for some people. Some people can find beans, pulses, lentils, legumes harder to digest. It's hard to generalize, because without kind of knowing your case and what your diet's like and what you're eating, it could be caused by a whole host of things. Could be hormonal imbalances. But if you're, I would just suggest doing a food diary and seeing, keeping monitoring your symptoms and kind of trying to look at what foods you feel like trigger it for you, because everybody's different. Like with hormonal imbalances and skin breakouts, a lot of the time dairy can be closely related to it. Dairy has got a hormonal element to it, because it is coming from another animal, and that can, I find that can have a big issue with individuals with skin breakouts. So yeah, I think just take the food diary, see how you're getting on, and then if you do need more information, then you can try and just speak to somebody like me or another professional that can guide you on your journey with it.
Brilliant, Jade. Another person suffering bad with hay fever at the minute, and obviously with the increase in pollen, they're aware that it's just got worse in the spring and summertime. But are there any foods that could be also contributing to their hay fever?
Like that can exacerbate their symptoms? Yeah, so basically hay fever is like a histamine response in the body. So, like whenever you have a hay fever, you take an antihistamine to help balance out the symptoms you're having. So we do actually find histamine naturally in a lot of foods and drinks. So if you're going to have a lot of high histamine foods, then that could exacerbate your symptoms of hay fever. So things like fermented foods, dairy, gluten, alcohol. Wine mainly is has got a higher level of fermentation and histamine than things like clear alcohols. Also, like just fruit and veg as well, like strawberries are really high in histamine. I find that people react to them a lot when they're having issues. Spinach, what else? Avocado, tomatoes as well are quite high in histamine. So what I would say is just look up high histamine foods, and it might not be that you're reacting to all of them, but keep an eye on the ones that you're eating. Plus, there are naturally antihistamine foods. There's a component compound called quercetin, which is like a natural antihistamine. I think quercetin's in apples, onions. Can't remember all the foods off the top of my head, but you can also get like quercetin supplements as well too, which won't work as quick as an antihistamine, but if you take them over a period of time, then it's a more natural way to help manage your histamine response. So I don't know, hopefully those things help.
Brilliant. Would you recommend colonics for colon cleaning? And if so, would you need to take a probiotic, prebiotic afterwards?
It's not something that I personally recommend, and to be honest, I don't really know that much about it. So, yeah, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to advise on that. Yeah, it's not something that I like. Colonic irrigation.
Are there certain foods then could support colon cleaning, maybe like sunflower seeds, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, like I don't specifically for colon cleaning. I'm not sure if you're talking about like probiotics. Then obviously you're talking about your, your natural yogurt, your kombucha, your kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that. But yeah, no, I can look into. I can get back to you on the foods thing, but I don't really know the ins and outs of the colonic irrigation side of it. Sorry.
And the last question, how can I increase my B12 on a plant-based diet?
Yeah, so basically you're just going to have to get a supplement. You can look at things like activated yeast, which is really high in B12, which is also plant-based, and it's weird actually. Not nutritional yeast, not activated yeast, sorry, nutritional yeast. And what it is it's like this cheesy, salty kind of consistency, but it's really, really nice to actually make things like cheesy sauces and stuff, vegan like cheesy sauces. So nutritional yeast or B12, good quality B12 supplement.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jade.
You're welcome. Right. So on to a few other bits to help support the nervous system and stress. So the vagus nerve is the main line of communication between our gut and our nervous system and our brain. So when we stimulate the vagus nerve, it encourages our parasympathetic nervous system response, that rest and digest response that we want to encourage. So perfect for relaxation and digestion. So some vagus nerve stimulation exercises include things like splashing cold water on your face and your wrists. I don't know if any of you have noticed, a lot of people do cold water therapy at the minute, going out to different lakes and seas and things like that and getting into the cold water. And that has a lot to do with the vagus nerve stimulation and support that it provides to the body. Things like gentle rocking, like a rocking chair, or havening, which relaxes the nervous system. So havening is basically things like, rubbing your hands together or rubbing your arms, and your face as well too. I think the sides of your face are another point which can help to relax the nervous system. The ear also has a link to the vagus nerve and can help to reduce your fight or flight response. That's something that I've always done since I was young, was play with my ear, and I think it's very relaxing. It's related to that vagus nerve response. Things like just taking mini breaks, humming, gargling, and chanting, things like that can help to feed into the vagus nerve stimulation. Another nerve which is really important is the phrenic nerve. So this nerve is important for a regulation of breathing. So breath is so important to help support reduction of stress. So we can unconsciously hold our breath on. We can unconsciously I can't say that. We can unconsciously hold our breath a lot of the time. There we go. So one thing you can do to help activate the phrenic nerve is to take 2 breaths and consecutively, and then through your nose and then out through your mouth. So if you go, and if you do that 3 or 4 times, or even for like 30 seconds or a minute, that can help to activate your phrenic nerve response. And it is actually a quicker response to reduce, to support your nervous system and the vagus nerve stimulation. So both of them are really, really good for helping to relax the body. So an environment is so important as well. So setting your environment can mean having a nice clear space in your home or your office that you can work in, opening windows to let in fresh air, having plants indoors, having nice candles. Like if you've ever heard of the concept of hygge, so this is the Danish concept of relating comfort and coziness to wellness and contentment. So I love that. And it's all about setting a cozy and comfortable mood, you know, lighting candles, having warm lighting, nice cooking, you know, bacon smells around the kitchen, you know, curling up in the sofa in front of the fire, having nice music on, whatever makes you feel cozy. So, you know, it's a really, really nice concept to have in your home. There's loads of books on it if you wanted to look online and learn a bit more about it. So also keeping in mind that your environment also includes the people that you surround yourself with. So if certain relationships are draining or negative, it is a good idea to, you know, maybe assess the time that you spend with this person. So obviously some difficult relationships are something that we can't get away from if it is a family member, for example, but it's also always a good idea to protect your energy and manage the time you spend with these people. So relaxation, this is whatever relaxation means to you. So it doesn't have to be meditating, it doesn't have to be yoga, although meditation, yoga and breathing exercises have been scientifically shown to increase our anti-anxiety neurotransmitter GABA. But if that's not your cup of tea, then don't worry. You know, for me, I love cooking. That really helps me relax. Some people think cooking is the most stressful thing ever and think I'm mad. But, you know, it can be walking, it can be catching up with somebody for a chat, it can be, you know, whatever helps you to relax, but just incorporate some of that every single day. Even if it's only 5 minutes, just try and incorporate it every day. So exercise, I'm not going to talk too much about, but, you know, and even better, like not just exercise, but even better if we can get outside and exercise. Getting out into nature is amazing. You know, it helps to increase one of our feel-good hormones, oxytocin. So getting outside in the daylight, waking in the morning is a brilliant way to help also feed into our circadian rhythm, can help to reset the body clock. Also, if it is, you know, if we do have some sun in the sky, can increase our vitamin D exposure as well. So endorphins are obviously produced through exercise as well, are really beneficial for our overall health and well-being. So you may or may not have heard about the words blue zones before, but I just find them so fascinating. They're basically regions of the world where a higher number than usual of people live much longer than average. So these regions normally have the most people that live to be over 100. So these people are known as centenarians. I have to say that word slow, it's a bit of a tongue twister. So some blue zones include Sardinia, which is an Italian island, amazing, never been there before, really want to go. It's home to the highest population of male centenarians that live in one place. Okinawa in Japan is another place where the world's longest lived female is from. I don't know what age she is, I need to check that actually. And Ikaria in Greece, where residents live 8 years longer than Americans and have half the rate of heart disease and almost no dementia. So what do these blue zones do to achieve these long-lived healthy lives? So researchers who identified the blue zones believe that their health was a result of their lifestyle and their environment. Another study also identified that only 20% of a person's life expectancy is determined by their genes. So after researching a few pockets of people around the world, researchers identified the blue zones and a list of 9 common denominators that they believe contributed to their wellness. So first up is moving naturally. The world's longest lived people don't take part in strenuous exercises like running marathons or lifting heavy weights. Instead, they live in environments that gently nudge them and they move them without thinking about it. So they grow gardens and they don't have modern electrical equipment for house and garden work. So centenarians have a sense of purpose. So the Okinawans call it ikigai, and it translates to why I wake up in the morning, which I love that. You know, knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. So this can reflect as a sense of purpose, however each individual sees fit. So it could be within your family, within your community, within your job. It's just different for every person. Centenarians take time out every day to switch off. So everyone experiences stress, even people in the blue zones. So we have discussed previously how chronic stress leads to inflammation, which is associated with every major age-related disease. So the world's longest lived people have routines to help shed stress. So Okinawan take a few moments each day to remember their ancestors. Adventists pray, Icarians take a nap, and the Sardinians do happy hour. So this shows the individuality of taking time out and how we can adapt it to our own preference. So they also follow the 80% rule. So the Okinawans have it's a 2,500-year-old mantra they say before their meals that reminds them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. So the 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling full can be the difference between them losing weight or gaining it. So people in the blue zones eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening, and then they don't eat any more then for the rest of the day. And the world's longest lived people favour plant-based foods. Beans, pulses and lentils are the cornerstone of most centenarian diets. So meat is eaten on average about 5 times a month in small palm-sized servings. They drink alcohol moderately and regularly, so something the Blue Zone researchers refer to as wine at 5. This applies to all Blue Zones except Adventists who don't drink. And the trick is to drink 1 to 2 glasses of wine a day with friends, family, and with food. And no, it's not the same as saving up all week and having 14 drinks on the weekend. So unfortunately, that is not the case. They belong to a faith-based community. All but 5 of the 263 centenarians that were interviewed belong to some faith-based community. So their research showed that attending faith-based services 4 times per month can add between 4 to 14 years to life expectancy. And successful centenarians in the Blue Zones put their family first. So this means keeping aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the family home. They commit to a life partner, which can add up to 3 years of life expectancy, and they invest in their children with time and love. So finally, the world's longest lived people either choose or were born into social circles that support healthy behaviours. So Okinawans created groups of 5 friends that committed to each other for life. Research from Framingham studies show that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious, suggesting that the social networks of long-lived people have favourably shaped their behaviours around health. So the Blue Zone team suggests that most of us have the capacity to make it well into our early 90s, mainly without chronic disease. As demonstrated by the Adventists, the average person's life expectancy could increase by 10 to 12 years by adopting a Blue Zone lifestyle. I'm going to check. I'm going to just keep going on with these slides here because I've got another wee bit to go through, and I want to get finished up, but we'll still have a bit of time for questions. So these are some things to consider to support our digestive health. So first up is chewing. So digestion starts in the mouth. The juice is secreted in the mouth, and the process of chewing are a key factor of digestion. So a process that a lot of us miss out on, you know, when we're eating on the go, when we're rushing. So I'm not advising you to count the amount of times that you chew your food, because I personally feel that that takes a lot of the enjoyment out of eating. My advice is to chew your food until it forms a paste-like consistency and your mouth then swallow. So this will help the rest of our digestive system break down food more efficiently so that we can absorb all the nutrients in the food that we're eating. So there's an old Zen proverb, when walking, walk, when eating, eat. So that's not true for a lot of us. You know, when we eat, we're checking our phone, we're watching the TV, we're working. So I would like to encourage you just to focus on enjoying your food when you're eating it. So how does it taste? What's the texture? Is it sweet? Is it salty? And more importantly, are you enjoying it? So I understand that it's not always possible to eat without distraction from kids or work or a whole host of other reasons, but I do encourage you to eat as mindfully as possible. So allow yourself to enjoy the process of tasting your food, chewing it, savouring it, and most importantly, enjoying it. So I always champion a personalised approach to nutrition, health and well-being. So the Institute of Wellness has named personalised nutrition as one of its most important health approaches for 2021, especially in the midst of the pandemic. So a holistic approach is always going to be the best course of action to support health and well-being. So everything we've covered in this course is a really good starting point to, you know, allow you to begin to have awareness about how you feel in your body, you know, and how this can positively or negatively affect your health. Of course, there are the main pillars of nutrition and health and well-being that apply to us all, like staying hydrated, getting our greens, our veggies, our fruit, reducing the processed foods, and managing our sleep and our stress. However, you need to find the ways that allow you to do this best. You know, we're all different. We all implement behaviors and changes in different ways. So find what works best for you and just run with that. So also, you know, enjoying good food, including good quality, nutrient-dense food is key. Considering food for its nutrient density and the nourishment it gives our body is much more important than simply just counting calories. Food is something we want to enjoy as part of our daily routine. So finding the times of the day that work best for you to eat and the foods that you look forward to eating is something that's also really, really important. So these are I just want to tell you a few hints and tips about things that you can keep stocked up at home to have healthy options at hand. I will follow up with a handout on this as well. So things like nuts and seeds are great healthy snack options. You know, have them handy. Walnuts, macadamia nuts, almonds, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts, all the nuts. You can just keep going, but you can do things like, you know, getting a wee jar, adding nuts and seeds. You can pop in some cacao nibs, some you know, desiccated coconut, a wee bit of sea salt or something like that. Mix it around, keep it in your handbag, keep it in the car. That can be a you know, a handy snack option, so we don't have any food emergencies where we're starving and we end up going getting something that isn't good for us. You know, seeds, chia seeds, sesame seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds are great. You can put them on porridge. You can make granola with them. You can, you know, mix them with your nuts and seeds. You can put them in your chia seed pudding. Nut butters are really good plant-based protein and healthy fat options. So things like almond butter, cashew butter are really, really nice. Some good quality peanut butters as well. So we also want to stay stocked up on our healthy grain options, things like brown rice, white rice, you know, our whole wheat pasta, spelt and corn pasta, quinoa, buckwheat, bulgur wheat, millet. Brown rice noodles or soba noodles are great as well. Oats are really, really good to stay stocked up on. We can use those for loads of different things. You know, dark chocolate, medjool dates, almond butter, peanut butter, oat cakes, crackers are great healthy snack options. Then other cupboard essentials, things like, you know, tomato passata, you know, small amounts of coconut milk, tahini is really, really good, sesame seed paste, soy sauce, or tamari for people that are gluten-free. Good quality rock salt, pepper, herbs, spices are essential for, you know, jazzing things up whenever it comes to your food. Apple cider vinegar we touched on is good for supporting production of stomach acid. Fridge fillers, you know, if you do eat your meat and your fish, so, you know, having your good quality meat or fish, if you have a portion, you might freeze it, things like that. So the last task for the 4-week program is a task around sleep hygiene. So I really want you to focus on healthy habits around sleep. You know, start with all of the information I've given you about sleep hygiene. So you should already have the caffeine part of it nailed after the week 1 mini task. So you could start with no screen time before bed, you know, incorporating some healthy habits in that time, whether it's reading, whether it's having a magnesium salt foot bath or bath, you know, getting good quality sleep and is a game changer. And whenever you haven't slept well for a long time and then you start sleeping well, you will see the benefits to your energy levels, to your, you know, your mood, your physical health, your well-being. Like for me, sleep was a major light bulb moment. Whenever I was starting off on my journey with changing my diet to support my health and well-being, my sleep was never good. I always woke up, you know, at least 2 times in the middle of the night, just thought this was normal. Whenever I started making changes, taking the right supplements for me, I just couldn't believe it. When I was going to bed at 11, waking up at 7 and just feeling refreshed, like having more energy, like feeling better. I felt better. I looked better. You know, it just fed on these so many positive changes for me. So it is really, really important and something I really urge that you do and try your best with this task. Now, if you think an hour before bed is going to be unmanageable for you with your screens and stuff like that, start off with half an hour, then build it up. You know, it's like the thing with the water. Just make some sort of positive change rather than thinking, the end goal is unmanageable, just start off with half an hour, then you can up it to 40 minutes, you know, just try and do it in some way, shape or form. So finally, an update on Sally. So with Sally, we know that she had narcolepsy, she had a chronic sleep condition, and it was affecting loads of different things with her energy, her anxiety, her stress, her brain fog. And with Sally, what we identified was she did have some allergies and intolerances to food. Some of them were driving her respiratory issues, like her asthma. So for her, dairy products were not doing her any good, and they were driving her skin breakouts as well. So we worked on a plan to support her to reduce and eliminate dairy in her diet. We also worked on removing the refined sugars and processed foods that she was craving a lot of the time. So these were giving her a false sense of energy. We gave her some healthier sugar, you know, healthier unrefined sugar options for her snacks. You know, she was having dark chocolate, apples, almond butter, dates, things like that. We also worked on increasing her green leafy veg intake, packed her diet full of magnesium to help support the nervous system and to promote good quality sleep at night. Even though she has a chronic sleep condition, she wasn't getting good quality sleep at night time. We also had a strict prescription of sleep hygiene, so no TV, laptop or phone for at least an hour before bed. So within a few months, Sally had a lot more energy than she did previously. She was only really feeling tired at night when she went to bed, which was really good progress for her. Her sleep at night had also improved and resulted in her waking up feeling more refreshed. So this meant that she was a lot more productive in work and she wasn't experiencing the anxiety throughout the day that she previously had. So she also even had a really big increase in the number of orders that she was able to process a day in her job. So it was reflecting on her results and her output. The brain fog had lifted a lot. She was able to remember things a lot easier than she had before. So the main point of the story with Sally is that nutrition and lifestyle change made a massive change and a massive positive impact to this lady who had a chronic health condition. You know, if she had given up and thought that there was no point in trying to feel better because she had a diagnosis of an incurable chronic condition, then she would never realize that she could have felt as good as what she did after making all these changes. So that's it. I would like to thank you all for taking part in this program. And most importantly, I want you to give yourself a huge fat pat in the back for turning up for yourself. You know, change is uncomfortable. It's not easy, but educating yourself and giving yourself the tools to make change makes the process a lot easier. So, you know, I encourage you to try and connect with me online, you know, to keep learning about how nutrition can affect our health, our well-being, and most importantly, the massive effect that food has on our mood. So, like Shannon said, I would be really, really grateful if you could take 2 minutes. It just takes 2 minutes to fill out, you know, the feedback survey that I've included, and the same with Shannon. So just a few minutes out of your day, it would really, really help. It allows us to continue to develop and evolve the programs that we develop to suit individuals like yourself. So thank you so much, and any questions are welcomed.
Thank you so much, Jade. Yes, we'll go with some questions here. So I have fibromyalgia. I hope I'm saying that right, because you know me.
Fibromyalgia.
And they were on medication, but since have come off it there just a few weeks ago. They have changed their exercise and diet a lot, and they're feeling great. They have now stopped the tablets and the pains are coming back, however. So is there any vitamins that you recommend?
Like it's hard to, so I don't know what medication, were they just taking pain relief medication before and they stopped taking that, or was it a different medication?
It starts with AMI triplet.
A triptyline or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so pain relief wise, it's difficult. You know, maybe it might be the case that they continue doing their dietary and lifestyle changes. You know, like we always talk about the holistic approach. Maybe it's something that they could look into, something like acupuncture, or you know, some sort of massage or something like that that can help to support with the pain. You know, acupuncture is amazing. Like the benefits of it are brilliant. So it could be that they might want to look down an avenue like that. Like, continue with the anti-inflammatory diet, cutting out the processed foods, doing all those things. And with something like, a condition like fibromyalgia, I think like an all-round holistic approach is so important. So I would encourage, doing something like that, looking at the other avenues that you can help to support alongside the diet and lifestyle changes.
Brilliant. You mentioned a lot of snacks, like the oils and butters, which is great. However, someone does have a nut allergy and they're just asking, is there any alternatives for the snacks?
Yeah, so if you've got a nut allergy, like you can still have things like hummus, like hummus with veggie sticks. Also, you can have make like natural yogurt with like mint and stuff, like tzatziki with cucumber and things like that on it. What else? Your dark chocolate's still fine, so not all is, I couldn't personally live without dark chocolate, but yeah, so in terms of that, yeah, definitely steer clear of the nut butters, but your hummus, your other dips and stuff like that are still okay. Veggies, fruit, dates are amazing on their own, not even with any of the nut butter inside. So yeah, hopefully those are a few other options that you can try and incorporate. Also, avocado is really nice. If you mix it with like cacao powder, and you can make like avocado like mousse. So things like that, and add just a wee bit of maple syrup, just blend it up, like so nice.
Sounds good, actually. What is your advice on carbs when trying to reduce them? Should you follow carb cycling to try and not affect your metabolism, and how is it best to do this?
So basically, I always just advise to eat the right type of carbs. So, make sure that you're eating your good quality whole grains, your, sweet potatoes, your good quality complex carbs. I don't advise on cutting them out completely. Like I said, we use carbs for energy. It's different in specific instances whereby carbs aren't affecting an individual. I don't want to go into that too much because it can confuse people then who are just, on a earlier learning stage. But yeah, I think you just have to kind of do what works with you. Make sure you're getting in your good quality carbs, and making sure you're doing it in terms of that you're having enough for your energy output as well too, like taking into account how much exercise and stuff you're doing. But yeah, you could do carb cycling as well too, but I don't advise you cut them out completely. Like there are like instances why you would want to go into a state of ketosis. Like for people who've got epilepsy, a ketogenic diet can be really good. Or there are some studies now into things like, neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, dementia, and other things like that. But yeah, just make sure you're getting your good quality, eating them in the right amounts, not overeating them, not undereating them. That's, yeah,
Brilliant.
bit of a long-winded answer, but hopefully.
No, that's answered definitely. Just before we go on to the last question, before people knock off, because I know it's 1 o'clock, I just want to say that there is a sleep workshop coming up, and it's a free sleep workshop on the 10th of June from 2 to 3, and it's with the Sleep Geek. I don't know, Jade, if you've heard of the Sleep Geek.
No.
It's amazing. So do check out our website under the Rethink section, and you will see the sleep workshop, because it will be very beneficial for anyone that maybe is doing shift work, as Jade said, or wants to find out more about sleep. So I'll leave that with you. But the last question there, a person has arthritis in their knees, and they've been told once to avoid nightshade foods. Can you explain what they are and why they were recommended to avoid them for arthritis?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, when we talked about like foods that are high in histamine, like nightshades can just like affect people in different ways, like different imbalances in the body. So nightshades are things like aubergines, potatoes are the two that I think tomatoes might be a nightshade as well too. So for some people, they can just feed into processes of an inflammation in the body, and that's why they could have recommended you to do that. because arthritis is an inflammatory condition and you want to try and reduce inflammation as much as possible, but without just cutting out all nightshades, because there are obviously benefits from eating some of these foods, the same as the high histamine foods. They're not necessarily bad foods, just at a time where you've got that imbalance, they're not actually good for you. So just do your wee food diary and kind of monitor. Some of them might be affecting you more than others, but with things like arthritis, it's just important to get that goodness in. You know, make sure you're getting in your anti-inflammatory foods, cutting out the ultra processed foods, you know, doing those main pillars, supporting your sleep, doing all these things we've talked about. And then, yeah, just monitor and see if you think that the nightshades are directly affecting you. Also, you could get a food intolerance test if you wanted to find out what you're reacting to. So yeah, those are just some things that you could consider.
Brilliant. Jade, that's all our questions. The rest are just thank yous, and that they're stocking up on fruit and veg on the way home today, and that your course really has motivated a lot of change. So that's amazing. That's really what we were hoping for from the start, really. Thank you everybody for joining us. As I said, please fill out the questionnaires, and then we can follow through with the advanced nutrition program. So I'll send out all the information just from your email address here, if that's okay. Thank you for joining us, and Jade, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and good luck, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye.